Now, Miss Bush, let's try to get some of that across.
So Ted, you, when we were trying to do reunification with you and the kids back in 2019, we were first assigned to a therapist named Gwen Waldman. Do you recall?
I object that it's outside the scope of the direct testimony. There was no testimony about Dr. Gwen Waldman.
Yes, but we're talking about.
Excuse me, I get to rule on that, Ms. Bush. I am going to overrule that objection. You did bring up reunification therapy, Mr. Bush, so I'm going to let her follow that line of questioning. Yes. Go ahead.
Okay, so Mr. Steve Wasko, and my attorneys and court had agreed that Ms. Gwen Waldman would be assigned the reunification therapist. She contacted me, and I made a first appointment with her.
Objection is she's testifying. This isn't a question, she's testifying.
Right. Ms. Bush, you're going to just have to ask questions.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Again, I'm not an attorney, so I'm just trying. Did you have an argument with Miss Waldman, Ted?
Objection is to what is. All right, I'll go ahead and answer your question, Erika. I had an Gwen Waldman called me when you were in her office with Julian asking for my credit card while you were in the middle of a session. And I indicated to Gwen Waldman that I wasn't going to give my credit card to her until after the session was over, and that we had agreed to pay her for our own individual visits while you were trying to get me to pay for your visit. So that was the extent of my communication with Gwen Waldman.
Do you recall what the order of protection said regarding the fees?
The order of protection didn't say anything about.
The order of protection, the court order, the court order. No, sorry.
I don't recall what the. I presume it would have been the September 20th, 2019 order. I don't have that in front of me. I don't recall what the exact breakdown of fees were.
Okay. Yes, it was dictated in the court order that you were to pay 80% of the fees, and I was to pay 20% of the fees relating to the reunification process.
Okay.
That is why Ms. Waldman called you to make sure that she was going to get paid for the 80% portion of it, and I was paying the 20%. That was the whole, in accordance with the court order.
Right, and I indicated to Ms. Waldman that I thought that my time would be better spent with her actually in a session with you and my children, rather than phoning me in the middle of the session asking for my credit card.
Okay, can I read, Your Honor, part of an email that Ms. Waldman sent to the GAL, refusing to leave, telling him why she was leaving?
No, you cannot. That would be considered hearsay.
Oh, okay. But Ted did state that there was confrontation between both Ms. Waldman and him. Which basically, is that correct, Ted?
I indicated to Ms. Waldman that I thought it was inappropriate for her to call me in the middle of a session asking for my credit card, not knowing what I'm doing at that particular time, and expecting me to drop everything, give her my credit card number, and not process the credit card after the session. That was the extent of my communication with her.
Was that the only time you communicated with her?
No, I had talked to her a couple times prior to get things started, but just introductory, but nothing. That she called me. It was a phone conversation. It lasted maybe no more than 2 minutes.
Did you ever threaten Ms. Waldman?
Nope.
Were you very upset or angry during a conversation with Ms. Waldman?
That conversation lasted about 2 minutes. I was more surprised, but considering the fact that these counselors often act like they're attorneys. I wasn't that surprised, but I was disappointed.
Are you saying the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I am.
Do you know why Ms. Wellman left the case?
I don't know why.
Did you ever receive an email from Steve or anyone indicating?
Let me.
How did you find out that she was no longer in the case?
Well, let me just put it this way: that when after I had that conversation with Ms. Waldman, I looked at her Google reviews, and I saw multiple Google reviews that all she cares about is money. So I really wasn't that much interested in dealing with her. And whatever she decided to do was up to her. It didn't bother me.
So were you the one who terminated that relation?
No, I don't think so.
Or was it Ms. Wellman?
I don't know. I'm not sure.
And you didn't care at that time?
Not particularly. No, I thought there were enough people trying to take all my money.
Okay, so then there was a second therapist that you mentioned, Dr. Dockman. Right?
Correct. Well,
When did you start seeing Dr. Dockman?
I heard about Dr. Dockman through another case. Father has Judge Carr, and it was similar circumstances. So actually, I reached out to Dr. Dockman to be the reunification counselor, and he was appointed on September 20th, 2019.
Okay. So did you record any sessions with Dr. Dockman at his office without his knowledge?
No, not without his knowledge. He had full knowledge. I sent him the transcript of the December 21st, 2018 audio tape in Dr. Palin's office, and I told Dr. Dockman that I'd recorded the session in Dr. Palin's office. So he was familiar with that session from Dr. Palin from 2 years prior. Actually, no, it would have been a year. It would have been a year and a half. So I met with Dr. Dockman and Julian on March 5th and March 14th, 2020, and the session with Dr. Palin would have been December 21st, 2018. So it would have been about 18 months apart.
Did you record a session without Mr. Palin's authorization of a session with him?
No, and
And you and Julian?
No, and in fact, your former attorney told Judge Carr on the record that Dr. Palin had knowledge of and consented to that recording. And Dr. Palin actually attended court 3 times, attempted to tell Judge Carr to his face, but Judge Carr wouldn't hear him.
Because this is one of the allegations against you from the ARDC recording
Objection is to relevance.
sessions against Dr. Palin specifically that he did not authorize. So this is one of the points that the ARDC will be bringing before you tomorrow.
Ms. Bush,
Have you recorded any other sessions with the court, Judge Carr, and made them publicly available?
I've been privy to numerous recordings of people following this case and documenting mine and my children's civil rights being violated.
Are you aware that there, as the judge said at the beginning, that is, I think she said, is a violation of the Supreme Court to be recording court sessions and be making them public?
Yeah, if I may answer that, thank you, Erika. I challenged the former Cook County regulations that were premised on Rule 63A8 of the Supreme Court rules. The Supreme Court actually vacated and struck that rule on December 16th, 2020, which happened to be the day after.
Just answer the question. Are you aware that that is illegal? Like Judge Stickler just
no, I'm affirmatively aware that it is not illegal.
You don't think it's illegal?
I'm positive it's not. I'm positive it's not illegal.
So you're saying that what Judge Stickler just said at the beginning of the Zoom court is not true?
I brought a case to the Second District Appellate Court called In re Matter of.
I don't want you to tell me about that. I'm just saying what you're telling me right now is. What I'm asking you right now is that you are saying that the introduction statements or whatever, when we started on this Zoom call, in which Judge Stickler specifically stated that it is against the violation of the Supreme Court to be recording any court Zoom meetings or any proceedings or anything like that. So you're telling me that she's wrong.
What I'm telling you is that Rule 63A8 was repealed on December
I'm not
16th.
asking you, I'm not asking
Let
you
me
about
answer
that
the,
rule.
Your
I
Honor,
don't
I'd like
know.
to answer the question.
I don't know about that rule, so I just want you to tell me, are you saying that Judge Stickler is wrong?
What I'm stating, I don't
Very
recall,
simple.
I don't
It's either
recall,
yes or no.
I don't recall what Judge Stickler's, sorry, the court reporter's got her hands up. Sorry. What I'm stating is that I don't recall what Judge Stickler said. But what I'm saying is that there was a Supreme Court rule that was repealed, and the one that replaced it said that I forget what the language was, but the court is recording and broadcasting its recordings, and that's by the actual text of the new Supreme Court rule. I don't read that to be a violation before December 16th when that rule was implemented and after.
Okay, so she did say that. Let me just refresh your memory. Judge Stickler said that you are not, or anyone related to you or your friends that are on this call, are to record anything, either video or audio of this court session, or any in particular. So she made it very clear, but you're telling me that you don't understand that.
No, what I'm saying is that in 2012, the Seventh Circuit Court of Appeals issued a case called ACLU versus Alvarez. The Illinois Supreme Court in 2014 issued a case called People versus Clark, and People versus Malongo. And then in 2015, the Fifth District Appellate Court issued a case called In Re Marriage of Wedigan, in which, in specially concurring, Judge Steigman said that this is not illegal, and you have a right to do that.
That's irrelevant.
Your question is
Ted,
irrelevant.
Do you harass me on social media via using these platforms to have people contact me? Your friends have been contacting me. Your clients have been contacting me. Your mother has been contacting me, whom I haven't had any contact in 5 years. Why do you keep on harassing me via social media, online?
Okay, well, to answer the first question, both my mother and my father is actually right here, and my mother as well, have a right and an interest in seeing their grandparents. And if you feel that them contacting you is harassment, that would be consistent with the years and years of you claiming that anything you don't like is harassment. So no, I'm not harassing you. You are violating my civil rights, and you have caused traumatic damage to me and my children over the last 3 years.
Ted, have you put my personal information on your Facebook account? And you have encouraged people to contact me. Have you put my email address in there? Have you put my cell phone number in there and my full name, and encourage people to look me up and call me and harass me?
Objection is to lack outside the scope of the direct examination and relevance.
Your Honor, this is
Overruled. Please answer the question, Mr. Bush.
Okay, I put your cell phone number and I put your email address, which are both public information.
Do you not think that is a direct harassment against me?
No, I think that you're a pathogenic parent, and you've caused tremendous damage, and you're a perjurer, and you have kept me away from my children for almost 3 years under lies, and you've gotten away with it, and I think it's about to end.
Ted, are you aware there's an order of protection against you for harassment, no contact to me?
I'm required, Erika, by Supreme Court Rules 11 to 13 to serve you by email with court documents, and Judge Walker entered an order last week which indicated that it's totally natural and in fact appropriate for people to try to settle out disputes, not spend all their time in court, and that if the communication is copied to Steve Wasko, then that's perfectly acceptable. That's in an order by Judge Walker. So no, I don't agree with what you're saying.
Okay, Ted, the email that you claimed that was because you had to legally notify me and contact me does not have anything to do with the case at all. In fact, it actually states that your intentions to continue to harass me.
Well, Erika, I don't know.
I'm going to read part of that email. In that email, you say, I will, hold on. What was the subject? What was the subject, the content of the reason why you sent that email to me? Tell me.
Because if you read the email, it says, I want to see my children immediately because I've been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer on August 10th of 2021, and it's been 47 days since I've even seen or spoken to my children while I have a terminal illness.
We're not talking about your terminal illness.
Oh, of course not.
We're talking about, we're very sorry that you have this illness, which we hope you fully recover and, you know, something good comes out of all this, okay? However, in that email, you stated, I'm trying to look for the email. You did not present any motions to me regarding this case in that email, okay? That email was sent to me, and yes, copy to Mr. Wasko, copy to your dad, copy to your mom, and copy to another client of yours, Mazone, Calzone, or something like that. Okay, so she has been emailing me, harassing me on your behalf because she does not, I don't know who she is. I assume she was the other girlfriend that you had, but I have no,
objection, she's testifying.
What? And, anyway, that's, in that email.
Ms. Bush, you have to ask a question.
Okay, in that email, did you threaten to kill me?
No.
No, sorry, to bury me. In that email, did you specifically?
Yeah, I did,
say,
and I'm burying.
I will bury you.
Yeah, and I'm burying you right now, and you're burying yourself. And this is exactly what I said I would do. You're getting buried.
Did you specifically indicate, I will outlive you?
Yes.
Okay, do you not think that those sentences, amongst another explanative of insults, and having an order of protection currently in place, would you think that that would potentially, anywhere in your mind, would you think that it would violate an order of protection?
The only thing that I'm sure of, Erika, is that you were only thinking about yourself.
That's irrelevant. I'm the one asking the questions. Okay. So now, Ted, how many times have you gone to St. Paul of the Cross and had confrontations, serious arguments with the staff, including principal and secretaries of the school?
One time on September 23rd, 2020, after your attorneys sent the principal an order the appellate court held was vacated. I got into an argument over that.
Okay, I would disagree with that because there's been several times Mr. Wasko has been called urgently because the school is calling me urgently, and they actually had to call the police and escort you at least.
Thank you.
At least three times.
Thank you. I didn't, but you're referring to an incident, quote unquote incident, in January 2020, in which there wasn't an incident, in which I had tickets to see President Trump in Michigan. I went to the school, asked to take my son to see President Trump in Michigan, and they called you, and they called you and said, and called Steve and said, no, we're going to wait. You know, we're not going to release Julian to you. So there was no incident. I tried to take my son to see President Trump. My son would have been the only child in that entire event.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Who do you work for right now, Ted?
I work for myself, and I'm undergoing chemotherapy, so I have a dwindling, dying law practice.
We're not talking about your health, Ted, because I'm not talking about my health problems either. So we're only specifically focusing on this case. Focus. When you, I guess I can ask about Dr. Dockman. How many sessions did you have with Dr. Dockman?
I met with him individually maybe 3 times or two or three times. And 5.5 months after he was appointed as reunification counselor, I reunified with my son on March 5th, 2020 and March 14th, 2020.
How many times did you have arguments with Dr. Dockman in front of your child during his session?
I was concerned that Dr. Dockman was constantly interrupting us on March 14th, 2020, because he was interrupting Julian and I conversing. And so he was there to facilitate reunification counseling. He didn't seem to be doing it. So I looked at him. I said, "What are you doing? Why do you keep interrupting us?"
Okay. On that day, March 14th, did you come out of that session and started insulting me as well as my mother in front of Dr. Dockman, in front of both kids, and in front of a second therapist in that office?
No.
You did not
No,
insult me
I told you
or
that you should
scream at me.
I told you that you should be ashamed of yourself. And
No. Did you not insult? Did you not insult my mother? That is an older lady that was shaking so much that Dr. Dockman was about to call an ambulance to come and get her because she couldn't control herself. She was so angry for the words, the vocabulary you were using against her in front of the kids.
Is there a question?
Did you not do that?
Your mother, you brought your mother to a reunification counseling session who had no business to be there.
No, she does. It doesn't matter. What I'm asking you is, did you insult my mother as well as myself in Dr. Dockman's office, in front of the kids, in front of 2 therapists? Yes.
I have already testified that I called your mother an old hack who is just a part of this as you are. She is driving this conflict as much as you are, and I believe that she's an old hack, and she doesn't speak English, by the way. I don't think she could even understand me.
No, I'm pretty sure she could understand.
Okay, well,
we could all understand. Okay, Ted. So can you tell me what's the reason Dr. Dockman left the case?
Dr. Dockman left the case because he never established the scope of what he was doing. There's no definition of reunification counseling, and he was just sort of floating aimlessly without any plan. And I didn't feel like paying any more counselors because I'd already paid Dr. Palin for 45 sessions, which amounted to almost over $10,000.
Your Honor, can I ask Mr. Wasko a question?
You can in your case.
Oh,
Not
okay.
at this time, Ms. Bush.
What's that?
Not at this time. Now you're cross-examining Mr.
No,
Bush.
I just wanted him to input onto this specific topic, but okay. Ted, did you know that Dr. Dockman left the case because of your behavior?
No, that is entirely false, and in fact, I recorded the whole thing. That is entirely false. Dr. Dockman withdrew in the session. We left the session.
You're admitting? So you just indicated that, again, you were recording Dr. Dockman's sessions.
Yeah, I recorded the whole entire thing to protect mine and my children's civil rights, and to protect and to.
And you had his authorization to do that.
I had his knowledge. I didn't need his consent.
No. Did you need his consent in order to record someone? That's the basic.
I have the right to record my own children, and including when my rights and my civil rights are being violated. And under the crime evidence exception, under the Illinois eavesdropping statute, I have the ability to do that. I believe that a crime was being committed against me and my household, and in fact it was.
No,
and that audio recording captured evidence.
Okay, that's actually incorrect, and you should know better because you're an attorney. you need consent from the other party in order to record them. I'm not an attorney, and
Well,
I know.
if you'd like, Ms. Bush,
Ted.
I can cite you the statute, the crime evidence.
okay, I don't want you to tell me any of that. Okay, what I want you. Okay, one of the things that you really always bring up and are very passionate about is your rights being violated. As a father, your rights being violated. Can you please tell me what are your obligations as a father? What are your responsibilities as a father? Because we never get to hear you speak anything about your responsibilities or your obligations as a father.
Erika, I would love to speak to you about that after you stop lying to judges. And then I'll be more than happy to talk about my rights when you're going to court and causing my rights to be violated. I'll be happy to discuss all the responsibilities I have when you stop getting the courts to violate my civil rights.
Mr. Bush, I strongly suggest that you should answer that question because this is your motion to see.
Okay, thank you, Your Honor. I will answer that question. My responsibilities of a father are to make sure that they are safe, to make sure that they are fed, to make sure that they thrive, that they are scholastically inclined, that they're athletically inclined, that they're healthy emotionally, that they have maximum contact with both parents. Okay, I would never do to my children what you've done to them. Okay, in spite of what you've done. Okay, so my children deserve the same love and affection that my father, who's sitting right next to me, gave to me, and that my children have been deprived of. I want to be like my father.
Okay, Ted, you talked about being able to make sure your kids have food, have clothing, are met. When have you done that? How in these 4-5 years since I left the home, when or how you can tell me that you have provided all these things that you claim a father should do?
Well, Erika, in my other room, I'd be happy to show you all the Christmas gifts that I gave to my children that I haven't been able to deliver them, and all the Christmas gifts that were given by my family that I haven't been able to deliver them because I haven't been able to see them because of you.
Julian, you stop. You could deliver them. You know exactly where I live. You put posters outside. Remember?
Well, and you're telling me that okay. Okay, Erika, you're calling the police and trying to get me arrested for writing you an email, and now you're telling me.
This is not a situation, Mr. and Mrs. Bush, where you should have a conversation. This is a question and answer proceeding, Mrs. Bush.
I just wanted him to answer what has he done to provide the things that parents that he just indicated should do.
Okay. He gave an answer. If you're not satisfied with that answer, go ask another question.
Okay. When was the last time? Did you ever communicate with me or Mr. Wasko regarding the kids, specifically during the COVID? I assume that at some point you were worried that during COVID, it was hard. People get sick. Were they ever sick? Were you ever curious?
Yeah.
Did you ever contact Steve and ask them, how are my kids doing? Did you ever email me and ask me how the kids are doing? No offensive language, just specific to the kids.
Yeah, Erika, I filed an emergency motion on March 23rd, 2020, and it was denied as not emergency to Judge John Baptiste. So that's one thing that I did. I filed an appeal and won. I filed an emergency motion for supervisory order to the Illinois Supreme Court. I filed 2 federal lawsuits. So I think I did a reasonable amount to try to get access to my children that is being prevented from me.
Did you ever send an email and just say, I want to know how much, Steve, do you know if my kids have gotten COVID?
I didn't do that with Steve because Steve doesn't do anything. He doesn't interview our children, and months and months and months go by without Steve making contact.
You didn't do that.
And then my children wouldn't know who Steve Wasko is if they ran into him in the street. So no, I didn't ask Steve Wasko.
All right, let me say that I did promise the court reporter that I would make sure she met her medical appointment.
Yeah.
We just have a few more minutes, Mrs. Bush. Are you going to be able to wrap this up within the next 5 minutes?
If she does,
Yeah,
if she does, Your Honor,
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
rest.
Then go ahead and we'll finish.
Yeah,
We'll finish this, and then, Ms. Court Reporter, once we're finished with this, just go ahead and go, and, I'll set the next date off the record then. Go ahead, Ms. Bush.
Does Mr. Wasko need to speak or say anything?
No.
I don't have any further questions. I
He's a
think-
guardian ad litem, and Your Honor, I'll waive a closing argument.
All right, so you're finished with your questioning, Ms. Bush?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so does that mean we're finished with the hearing?
Since this is asking for a temporary order and not a final resolution.
Yes, yes.
I rest.
Okay, is there anyone you'd like to call, Ms. Bush?
Yes, Mr. Wasko.
Actually, Your Honor, if I may, I take that back. I would like to ask Steve Wasko just a couple questions.
All right, so let's get a date. Ms. Court
I'll waive it.
Reporter.
I'll waive it. No.
I think Ms. Bush wants to do that, is that right?
Yes, I do.
If she wants to ask him questions, go ahead. As
Well,
long as
we're
we
not
finish.
gonna be able to finish it today, I don't think.
Your Honor, it's been 47 days since I've been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I've not seen or heard from my children.
I know, Mr. Bush, that's why I really wanted to try to get this done today.
Well, can I ask one more question, Your Honor?
Sure.
While you're looking at your calendars, Ted, can you tell me how many times has Mr. Wasko reached out to you to try to coordinate a Zoom call with your kids?
I don't recall. I don't believe anything that Steve Wasko says.
That answer is unresponsive, Mr. Bush. How many times, whether you believe it or not?
I don't even know. It may be once or twice, but he has nothing to show for it because he's a terrible guardian ad litem.
All right, Carrie, do we have anything scheduled on this call Friday afternoon? Terry?
Judge, I'm on trial before Judge Ross, starting at 10, but it may not go very long. I'm thinking it wouldn't go more than 2 or 3 hours, so I should be free by 2 o'clock or 3.
All right, so.
Okay.
I don't have 2 o'clock on Friday.
You do have one?
I don't.
Yeah, you go ahead, but we will have a reporter Friday at 2.
Friday at 2, do you want me to contact you? I'll do it right now.
Thank you so much.
Wait, Terry?
Yes, wait 1 second.
No, you can go, Ms. Court Reporter.
Another day. I do have
Thank
2
you.
o'clock on Friday. I have a 2 o'clock on the 6th. That's a Wednesday.
No, I want to know if you have a 2 o'clock on Friday the 1st.
I do.
What is it, Terry?
It's for trial.
Well, what kind of issue is it?
I want to say financial, let me look it up real quick.
Judge, if they're only going to be asking me questions, if we could do it at 1:30, you might get it done in 30 minutes. I mean,
I have a 1 o'clock.
oh, sorry.
Your Honor, this Friday is a really busy day for me. I had to take time off of work and again on Friday. Can we do this next week to give me a little bit of time to recover from my work? Because I have to keep up, and I'm the only provider for the kids, so I can't.
Okay, how about Tuesday the 5th? How is that?
I have a 1 o'clock. I have a 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock, but I do have a 2 o'clock. That's going forward, but I can give 1 o'clock for 12 o'clock and 1 o'clock.
Wait, what date? Tuesday? What?
The
The
5th,
October
October 5th.
I have a presentation that I'm doing from 12 to 1:30.
Erika Bush would be a fantastic domestic relations attorney in delaying hearing dates. I have stage 4 pancreatic cancer. I'm getting jacked up with 2 large amounts of chemotherapy tomorrow.
How about the 4th?
Yes.
I can do 12:30, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock.
I'm fine on the 4th.
Okay, Mr. Wasko, can you do 1 o'clock on the 4th?
Yes, Judge.
All right, let's do it.
Lisa, you hear that? Oh, is Lisa fine?
Yeah, I told her she could leave,
Okay, I'll let her know.
but you have to let her know because we were gonna do it Friday. Okay.
We
Thank
said
you
1
so
o'clock,
much.
we said 1 o'clock on the 4th, correct?
Your Honor, can we set a time frame? Because if we don't, I need to ask for time off from work. So could we get like,
What
Is it 1 hour?
what time did we set? 1 or 1:30?
1 o'clock.
1 o'clock.
Should be done in an hour. Have to be.
I would guess no more than an hour, but you know, it is entirely up to you. Okay,
Okay.
all right, thank you.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank you,
Thank
Judge.
you.
Thank you for your
Have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.